statement, even as most of the minority bloc in Congress have withdrawn their support for the bill. Secretary Carandang admits there are ongoing efforts to build support for the palace-backed measure, which he says has been long overdue. Congress will vote on August 7 on whether to close the...
Good morning, everyone. We are the Group 3, and today we will be discussing about the case Imbong versus Ochoa Gr. GR number 204819. Case overview. A consolidated case involving multiple challenges, the constitutionality of the Republic Act number 10354 or RH Law. Focus, reproductive health, contraception, and population control policies. So, decided by the Supreme Court and Bank. What is the RH Law? Responsible Parenthood and Reproductive Health Act of 2012. Republic Act number 10354 was enacted to promote responsible parenthood, reduce maternal mortality, provide reproductive health education, ensure access to family planning methods. The law authorized government project contraceptives, reproductive health programs, sex education in schools, maternal and child health services. It became controversial because some sectors considered contraceptives morally and religiously objectifiable. Petitioners. The petitioners included different individuals and organizations such as James M. Imbong and Lovely Ann Imbong, Alliance for the Family Foundation Philippines, Pro-Life Philippines Foundation, Couples for Christ Foundation, Doctors for Life, Concerned Citizen, taxpayers, parents, and religious groups. The petitioners argued that the RH Law violated constitutional rights and religious beliefs. Respondents. The respondents were government officials and agencies responsible for implementing the RH Law, including Office of the President, Executive Secretary Paquito Ochoa Jr., Department of Health or DOH, Department of Education or DepEd, Department of Budget and Management, Department of Interior and Local Government. The respondents defended the constitutionality of the RH Law.
Moving on to the issues presented before the court. So we have number 1. Does the RH Law violate the constitutional right of the life of the unborn? So the petitioners argue that the certain contraceptives act as abortifacients. The Constitution protects life from conceptions. Government finding of contraceptives threatens unborn's life. They cited that Article 2, Section 12 of the Constitution, which protects the life of the unborn from conception. So yeah, basically, it entails that using contraceptive pills is the rightful to the unborn child. And number 2, we have the right to health. So the petitioners claim that some contraceptives cause harmful side effects, increased health risks, may lead to cancer or other complications. They argue that distributing such products violates. So the constitutional right to health, the state's duty to protect citizens from hazardous products. So this illustrates how the contraceptive pills or any contraceptive medical health is under violations, considering that it may cause harm to everyone's health, and also it affects citizens into hazardous products. So we have the number 3, does the RH Law violate religious freedom? So the petitioners objected to the government finding for contraceptives mandatory reproductive health services policies conflicting with Catholic teachings and other beliefs. They argued that the law interfered with free exercise of religion, religious conscience, and freedom of belief. So yes, basically we are living in the a religious and sacrilegious country. So yeah, basically it was mostly it is preferably in cold, considering that contraceptives are against in the health issues, and it is unlawful to us since we are living in a religious country and a Catholic race.
The issue of zero 4, these issues talk about the part of the RH law that required some doctors and health workers to refer patients to reproductive health providers and give reproductive health information. The petitioner argued that they forced them to do action that were against their religious beliefs and personal conscience. The claim that the law violated their constitutional right to freedom of religion and conscience. In simple terms, they believe that the government should not force people to act against their faith and moral convictions. The issue of zero 05, this issue focused on the RH law requiring age-appropriate reproductive health education in schools. The petitioners argued that they interfered with the rights of parents to guide and teach their children according to their own religions and moral beliefs. They believe that parents should have the primary authority over the children's moral education. According to them, the law promoted ideas that they were contrary to their beliefs and religion's upbringing. The issue of zero 06, these issues involve the requirement for doctors seeking PhilHealth accreditation to render 48 hours of free reproductive health service. Petitioner argued that there was a form of forced labor because doctors were required to work without proper compensation. They claimed that they violated the constitutional protection against involuntary servitude. In short, they believe that professionals should not be forced by the government to provide a paid service as the condition of accreditation.
I am Maria Juliana Membadeo. So today we're going to talk about the effects of the RH law case in the Philippines. So on December 17, 2012, the bill gets approved. After years of fighting and debating in Congress, lawmakers finally agreed on one version of the bill. So this bill was called the Responsible Parenthood and Reproductive Health Bill. So imagine this is the final draft that both the House and Senate could agree on. That's what consolidated version means here. So and then December 21, 2012, it becomes a law. 4 days later, President Benigno Aquino III signed it. So once he signed it, it became Republic Act number 10354. That's the official name, but most people just call it the RH law for reproductive health law. So what did this law want to do? Let me break it down simply. So first is it access for everyone. Make sure all Filipinos, especially poor families, can get reproductive health services. Next is free contraceptives. The government would provide birth control through public health center. And next is healthier moms and kids. It improves maternal and child health programs. And next is sex education in schools. It teaches students about the reproductive health in an age-appropriate way. And the last one is the family planning everywhere. It helps families decide how many kids they want and when.
Today, we'll talk about one of the most important legal battles in Philippine history, the Supreme Court proceedings on the Reproductive Health Law, or RH Law. This law, passed in 2012, aimed to provide universal access to contraception, reproductive health education, and maternal care. But almost immediately, it faced strong opposition, leading to a historic case before the Supreme Court. In early 2013, petitions were filed before the Supreme Court. These petitions sought to stop the implementation of the RH law and to declare it unconstitutional. The court responded by issuing a temporary restraining order, or TRO, which halted the law's enforcement while the case was being reviewed. More than 14 petitions and 2 interventions were consolidated, and oral arguments were held before the Supreme Court, meaning all justices participated. The petitioners argued that some contraceptives destroys fertilized ova, which they equated with abortion. They claimed this violated the constitutional protection of life from conception. They also said the law forced doctors to go against their religious beliefs and undermine parents' rights over their children's education. On the other hand, the government defended the law by stressing that it does not legalize abortion. Only non-abortifacient contraceptives were approved. The government emphasized its authority to promote public health, pointing out that the RH law was necessary to reduce maternal mortality, prevent unplanned pregnancies, and address poverty.
Ruling. The Supreme Court ruled that the RH law is generally constitutional, but however, it has several provisions were declared such as unconstitutional, invalid, subject to limitations, and also the court of balance where it has public welfare, public health, religious freedom, protection of conscience. The significance of the case is important because it was invented by Mr. Imbong v. Ochoa Gr. He is considered as a landmark constitutional case because it clarified the constitutionality of the RH law, balanced religious freedom with state health policies, protected the freedom of conscience, strengthened constitutional review over legislation, implements reproductive health policies in the Philippines, and also the case reaffirmed that supremacy of the Constitution, protection of religious liberty, and also government authority to promote public health within constitutional limits.